Well, good afternoon, YouTube. This is Chuck, and it's Friday, December 20th, 2024, about 3:30 in the afternoon, and I'm out here in the van, and I got another story for you. This video is going to be a Bigfoot Stuff video. I haven't really brought you up to date lately. The old crazy trains just kept chugging along, but I've been trying to give you some variety, shoot about some other stuff, but I want to give you a little update from a couple of angles. One being from the individual I call my friend from Utah, and then I've had some stuff happen with me as well, and it's kind of related and it's kind of interesting from that regard. So, in order to tell you the story, let me give you a little bit of background on my friend from Utah. Now, I call him that because he's actually a fairly high-level business executive, and he's not real keen with getting painted with the brush of being a wacko from being interested in the subject matter, but he is interested in it. He's had some really remarkable things happen, and it's just absolutely changed his life entirely once he found out all this stuff was real. And I've been working with him now for a little less than a year, and he's in contact with me probably 2 and 3 times a week. And like a lot of folks I deal with, he tells me that, he doesn't really have anybody else he can tell this stuff to. It's just so far out there. But it turns out that he apparently has a gift for mind speak. And so let me tell you how that's been playing out. Where he lives in the Salt Lake City area, and fairly near the base of the Wasatch Mountains. And he has a family group of Sasquatch people that live not too far from his house. And he's made contact with them, and he's met several of them. Well, he got a young one, a 9 or 10-year-old named Lewis. And Lewis is kind of latched on to him, and we kind of joke a little bit about it, but, Lewis is kind of like the little neighbor kid that hangs around your house all the time, especially right after you bake cookies. Well, that's kind of the way Lewis is, and Lewis is kind of taking a shine to my friend. And when this first started happening, my friend was a little bit concerned that Lewis's family would be unhappy about this. And so Lewis's father's name is Turlo, his mother's name is Gwendolyn, and he has a little brother named Jonathan. And anyway, my friends met the whole family and some other members of their family group as well. And they're very open to allowing Lewis to be around there. So Lewis is around his house constantly, sometimes 2 and 3 times a day. Sometimes he'll be gone for 2-3 days, but it's like he's almost always around. And developed a kind of a very special friendship with my friend here. Well, here a while back, Lewis told my friend that he was going to go to a gathering. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with the gatherings, the Sasquatch people, they go to periodic events or meetups that they call gatherings. And the different family groups from fairly large areas will all travel to these gatherings. And I've heard about these before. Well, Lewis and his family they're going to go to a gathering. And Lewis told my friend, he says, I'll still be able to mind speak with you from there. Well, the gathering was somewhere up in northwest Wyoming, somewhere around Yellowstone. And so anyway, Lewis and his family went there. And when Lewis got back, he was telling my friend, he says that he met some folks up there, and he was telling them about my friend, and how they were able to, how talented my friend was and open he was to mind speak. Well, my friend Lewis also been very, very open about some of the questions that we all have about the forest people. And he's told my friend about, answered questions. And, one of the questions was, where do they live? Well, according to Lewis, told him they live underground. My friend asked him what kind of form, when they're hanging out as a family group, what kind of form are they in? And Lewis told him they're in full solid form. Which would indicate that there's some kind of subterranean cave system or something, and they may not have an opening to the surface. They may have to go into another form in order to get down there, but apparently once they're down there, they just hang out like a regular family. My friend also asked Lewis about when Lewis was going to go to the gathering, he said, well, how are you going to go there? And Lewis was explaining about portals, and that there's a portal. And the portal basically, you walk in one end and you kind of choose where you want to go, and you walk out the other end. And Lewis kind of described it similar to walking into the back of a Walmart store with all the TVs hanging across the back wall, and every TV is a different location, and you just sort of pick the one you want to go to, and that's where you go, and that's where you come out. So we don't know how portals work. We do know they're real, but that was the way Lewis kind of explained it to my friend. Another thing Lewis explained to him, my friend asked him about shape-shifting, and Lewis was very open about it. Yeah, they can shape-shift. And Lewis is capable of shape-shifting into a squirrel, and he's also capable of shape-shifting into a small blue bird. And my friend asked him how they do that, and Lewis says, well, they kind of have to have a pattern. And that's kind of like, apparently somebody has to show them how to do it, and once they figure out how to do it, then they can do it. And Lewis's little brother, Jonathan, is 3 years old, and he can shapeshift into a chipmunk. His father, Turlo, my friend saw him in the form of a large deer, a buck, and actually had mind speak with him in that form. So that's answered some really amazing questions. Well, one of the things that happened after the gathering is that all of a sudden my friend started having different Sasquatch people reaching out to him in mind speak, just kind of out of nowhere. And one of them was a young female, an 11-year-old female named Hannah. Now, Hannah lives somewhere in west central Oregon, somewhere west of Crater Lake. And she has she's 11 years old. For an 11-year-old, she has a very high level of communication skill. And so, anyway, Lewis and Hannah are friends. And so my friends had quite a bit of mind speak with them. He's also had mind speak recently with one named Rogan. And Rogan's out of Canada somewhere. And he's a 41-year-old male. And my friend said, how did you hear about me? And Rogan said, you are becoming known among our people. Well, the most recent one now is he's had contact with one named Roxanne. And Roxanne lives somewhere up around Spokane, Washington, and lives near a big lake. So we're thinking maybe it might be Lake Coeur d'Alene in Idaho. That's not too far out of Spokane. So we're still kind of learning about that. Well, my friend started telling me about how he practices meditation. And it seems like that helps him clear his mind. And when it helps him clear his mind, he can pick up on this stuff. Well, I decided that I would try the same thing. And so 2 nights ago, I woke up a little bit before 3, and I had to go potty. And after I got potty, I laid back down in the bed and tried to do the meditation thing. And I watched some YouTube videos on how to do that. And I kind of got an idea on how it works. I'm not real good at it. But anyway, so I went ahead and tried to put my mind in neutral and tried to reach out just to hear if anybody's listening. And I got a response right away. And the response I got was one named Gunther. And Gunther, he's in his 30s. I couldn't tell. I thought he said 34, and then I thought he said 37. I'm not sure which is correct. So I'll say he's in his 30s. And I asked him where he's from, and he said he's from California. And he showed me a visual. And I've talked about visuals before, and when they show you a visual of where they live, it's kind of like looking at Google Earth from a satellite. And sometimes you can get a pretty good idea of where it's at from where the cities are, and if you know the country very well. And there's been a few times that you couldn't. Well, he gave me the visual, and I saw it, and I wasn't quite sure where it was at. It wasn't in an area that I was familiar with. And I was thinking that it might be the southern part of the Sierras. And, somewhere north of Lake Isabella, somewhere up in there. But I wasn't sure because I wasn't familiar with the area. So anyway, it wasn't last night, it was the night before that I met Gunther. So I was texting back and forth with my friend from Utah, and he's telling me about talking with Roxanne. And we were trying to get a rough idea where Roxanne was located at. And like I say, we think it's around Lake Coeur d'Alene. And so all of a sudden, my friend, I told him, I was texting back and forth with him. I told him to read my post on my community page, because on the last 2 mornings I've talked about this. And he did, and when he read Gunther's name this morning, he got a tingle, and by golly, it was Gunther. So Gunther reached out to him as well. And so he gave my friend kind of the same satellite view, and my friend said it looked to him like it was somewhere north of Sacramento, up in Northern California. And well, that might be possible. I wasn't sure what I was looking at. So anyway, he had a little bit of back and forth with Gunther, and I thought that was pretty interesting. Well, this morning, once again, I woke up just a little bit before 4 this time and had to go potty, and I got up and went potty, and I laid back down, and I no sooner got laid back down, and bang, I got the tingle again, and by golly, it was Gunther. And so Gunther was talking to me 2 mornings in a row. And then I got another individual, and the name I got was Dylan. And Dylan gave me a visual of 4 cowboys on horseback riding single file across a pretty open plain area. And there was no snow, but it appeared to be windy, and they were all bundled up against the cold. So it was cold somewhere, and I got the impression he was talking about Montana. And so now I've been through Dillon, Montana, and the country looked kind of like the area around Dillon, Montana. And so my first thought was that maybe it wasn't Dillon wasn't a name, maybe that was a location. And I got thinking about it a little bit more, and I got thinking that maybe, the Sasquatch people, they have a formal name, and a lot of times they don't share that formal name with us. And a lot of times they will pick a name, almost like a screen name, when they're dealing with us. And a lot of the screen names they use are human names. And so maybe he's from that area, and he liked the name Dylan, so maybe Dylan was what he wants to be called. So I had mind speak with Gunther early this morning, and Dylan as well. And just kind of reaching out the same way, and bang, they were there. The other thing that happened this morning again was a little bit after when Dylan left. Then I had what sounded like another very young one that kind of reached out to me, and it was very unsure of itself, and so I didn't really get a lot out of it. It's just, and then I got a third one, and the third one was very, very powerful, very powerful presence, and sounded like an elder. It felt like an elder. I could not get whoever it was to respond back to me. No matter, I tried asking all kinds of questions, I just couldn't get that individual, he or she, to respond back to me. But the individual was there for a little bit. I got the impression they were kind of checking me out. And then I was given another visual. And the visual that I was given was of a door. And when the door opened, the area beyond the door was lit up really, really brightly. And there was a very, very great sense of excitement. Whatever was behind that door was very, very exciting. And but I didn't go through the door. That didn't go that far. Well, then that one kind of went away. And then, but the level of excitement, it sounded like juveniles, felt like juveniles, were very, very excited and not quite understanding how to go about what they're doing. Well, then later on this afternoon, when I was sitting quietly in my chair trying to decide how I was going to say this, and this is the first take on this, by the way, and how I was going to frame this and tell you the story. And so the way I was kind of thinking about is that maybe what's going on with both my friend from Utah and now me is that some of the Sasquatch people are kind of interested in communicating with us, and maybe some of them have better communicating skills than others, are better able to do it, to reach out with the mind speak. And I kind of compared it in our society. I kind of compared it to a ham radio operator. And they just kind of turn the radio on and they kind of listen on different frequencies. And if they hear somebody talking, they might try to reach out and have a conversation with them, sometimes halfway around the world. And who knows how that all works. But I'm thinking that maybe the Sasquatch people, some of them do kind of the same thing. They reach out in mind speak to see if any of us will pick up on it. And so a couple of us can. Well, while I was thinking that, I got a pretty good zap. And who was it? It was Gunther. And Gunther basically gave me a kind of an affirmation that what I was thinking about there, about the comparing them to ham radio operators, that was kind of accurate. That's kind of what some of them like to do. And if they can find one of us who can communicate with them, they think that's pretty cool. And so my friend in Utah, he's been communicating with a number of them, both from various places around the West and up into British Columbia. He actually had communication with a female, and the name she gave him was Jolene. And Jolene, for whatever reason, she's not real. I guess not real fond of humans or something, because the communication he had with her, she was kind of surly and kind of, not real friendly. Let's just say it that way. But the visual that she gave him was a visual of Dolly Parton. And of course, Dolly Parton song Jolene. And that's probably where she got the name at. So once again, that's probably not her real name. That was just a name she picked. But not all of them are friendly, and not all of them want to talk to us. And they never stay around very long. If you can get 10 minutes out of one, that's pretty amazing. But now I've talked to Gunther now 3 times in 2 days. And he kind of acknowledged that yeah, there's some of them that just reach out kind of like human ham radio operators to see who they can get in touch with. And some of us have that ability. And if you stop and think about it, that's pretty darn cool. And one last little tidbit to add to that is that my friend in Utah, one of the things he kind of does, he's very open-minded. And one of the things he did this afternoon that he texted me and told me is he has a medium, I guess you'd say, that he goes to, and she does readings on him. And so he asked her, she's pretty open too about stuff, and he asked her about Gunther. And she immediately came back and said, Gunther is a guide. Well, if Gunther's a guide, that might mean that we're going to be hearing a lot from Gunther, both my friend and I both, because that door opening, that visual that I was given of the door opening was something exciting on the other side of it. And with Gunther as a guide, maybe we're looking at maybe the next step in contact. And we're all interested in, getting to one more step to learn more. So I don't know that that's true yet. It's a little bit early in the process. This is some pretty remarkable stuff. And I haven't told you about some of this stuff for a while. And as I always tell you, you can believe whatever you choose to. But it's pretty wild stuff. And it's happening here again. It's fresh within the last couple of days. And so we're hearing from people. We're having people reaching out, forest people reaching out to us, and it's just absolutely phenomenal. I feel so privileged and honored that they will do that. So I guess I've rambled on long enough with this one. And once I said this is the first take. I think I've got it. So let me tell you, as I always do, take care of each other and love each other. And I'll be back again with another one. And we'll be leaving Monday to go on a travel trailer trip, but I think where we're going, I think we've got Wi-Fi there, so I should be okay. And I'm having a problem with my laptop, but that's not going to affect me uploading videos. It might affect me watching them, or part of the process, but I can do it with the phone if I have to, so I'm not too worried about that. So I guess until I'll talk to you again. I don't know how long this one's gone, but I think it's gone long enough, so I'll talk to you again here pretty quick. So for right now, let me just tell you, peace out.